Dr. Minji Park wiped the sweat from her forehead as she carefully examined the glowing purple specimen under her microscope. The alien plant pulsed with a soft bioluminescent rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. After 3 months on Nova Prime, she had finally discovered something extraordinary. The plant's cellular structure was unlike anything in the galactic databases. Computer, record entry 247. She spoke to her lab's AI system, the Luminiflora. Shows unprecedented regenerative properties. Initial tests suggest it could revolutionize human medical treatment across all colony worlds. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface, documenting every detail. Outside her research station, the twin suns of Nova Prime cast an orange glow across the crystalline landscape. Strange bird-like creatures with 6 wings soared between the floating rock formations that made this planet so unique. Suddenly, the lab door exploded inward with a thunderous crash. 6 armed men in black tactical gear stormed inside, their plasma rifles charging with an ominous blue hum. Their leader, a tall man with cold grey eyes, stepped forward. "Dr. Minji Park, you're under arrest for conducting illegal alien research without proper authorization," Officer Hayes announced, his voice cutting through the lab like a blade. Minji's heart raced as she instinctively stepped back, her hands raised. "Wait, there's been a serious mistake. I'm a federal researcher with full diplomatic immunity." She reached slowly for her credential tablet on the nearby desk. "Don't move," Hayes barked, aiming his rifle directly at her chest. "We know exactly who you are, and we know what you've been doing here." 2 officers moved past her, roughly grabbing her research equipment. They yanked cables from her computers and shoved her precious plant samples into containment boxes without any care for the delicate specimens. "Stop. Those samples took weeks to cultivate," Minji protested. "Watching years of work being destroyed. You don't understand what you're doing. This research could save millions of lives." Hayes laughed coldly. "Save it for someone who cares. Corporate headquarters says you're interfering with legitimate mining operations. These alien weeds are sitting on top of valuable mineral deposits." As the officers continued ransacking her lab, Minji noticed something disturbing. They knew exactly where to find her most important research files. Someone had been watching her, studying her work patterns. This wasn't a random inspection. It was a planned operation. "I have federal protection under the Colonial Research Protection Act," she said firmly, trying to keep her voice steady. "Contact the Terran Colonial Research Institute immediately. They'll confirm my authorization. Your precious federal friends are very far away." Hayes sneered, grabbing her arm roughly. "Out here on the frontier, local law enforcement handles things our way." Through her lab window, Minji could see more security vehicles landing outside. Their sleek black shuttles kicked up clouds of purple dust as they touched down on the rocky surface. This was bigger than just a few corrupt cops. Someone with serious resources wanted her research stopped. As they dragged her toward the exit, she caught sight of her computer screen still displaying her latest discovery. The alien plant's genetic code showed something incredible. It could adapt and bond with human DNA, potentially curing diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. If the wrong people got control of this research, they could weaponize it or worse, bury it forever. "Move it, researcher." One officer shoved her forward as they reached their transport vehicle. The detention facility was a grim concrete building that looked more like a prison than a holding center. He threw her into a small cell with metal walls and a single flickering light. The floor was cold and dirty, with strange stains that she preferred not to think about. Hours passed in the cramped space. Through the barred window, she could see the alien landscape of Nova Prime stretching endlessly. Massive crystalline formations jutted from the ground like frozen lightning, and in the distance, She spotted a herd of six-legged creatures grazing peacefully near a flowing stream of liquid that glowed. Ed faintly blue. The irony wasn't lost on her. She had come to this beautiful alien world to advance human knowledge and help her species thrive among the stars instead. She found herself imprisoned by the very people she was trying to help. As night fell on Nova Prime, the planets, 3 moons rose into the star-filled sky, casting an ethereal silver light through her cell window. Somewhere out there, her sister Gina was probably working late in her office on Earth, fighting legal battles to protect human rights across the galaxy. If only she knew what was happening here. Minji closed her eyes and tried to stay hopeful. Tomorrow, she would find her way to contact the outside world. She refused to let corporate greed destroy her life's work or silence the discoveries that could change humanity's future among the stars. The stale air in Minji's cell had become suffocating. After 3 long days, she had counted every crack in the metal walls, every stain on the concrete floor. The guards brought her nothing but stale protein bars and recycled water that tasted like machine oil. Outside a tiny window, she watched the alien wildlife of Nova Prime continue their daily routines while she remained trapped. On the 3rd morning, Officer Hayes appeared at her cell door with 2 other guards. His boots echoed against the metal floor as he approached the energy barrier keeping her confined. "Congratulations, prisoner," Hayes said with a mocking smile. "The warden has decided to grant you one communication call. 5 minutes. That's it." Minji's heart leaped with hope. Finally, a chance to contact the outside world and expose this illegal detention. She had been planning exactly what to say and who to call. They escorted her down a narrow corridor lined with other cells. She glimpsed other prisoners. Some appeared to be minors who had probably spoken out against unsafe working conditions. Others looked like researchers or journalists who had asked too many questions. This place was clearly designed to silence anyone who threatened corporate interests. The communication room was a small chamber with a single holographic terminal. The device hummed softly, its blue interface casting an eerie glow on the walls. Ancient-looking security cameras watched her every move from the corners of the room. "Remember, 5 minutes," Hayes warned, positioning himself directly behind her chair. "And don't try anything clever. We're monitoring every word." 2 other guards flanked the doorway, their plasma weapons clearly visible. They were taking no chances, but they had no idea what they were really dealing with. Minji activated the terminal and input her personal communication code. The device immediately began establishing a quantum entanglement link across the vast distances of space. She watched the progress bar slowly fill as the connection reached through hyperspace toward Earth. "This should be entertaining," one guard whispered to another. "Let's see which boyfriend or mama she calls for help." The terminal chimed softly as the connection established. Suddenly, a familiar face appeared in the holographic display. Her sister Gina, sitting in what appeared to be a luxurious office late at night. Earth's city lights twinkled through the massive windows behind her. "Gina, it's me," Minji said quietly, trying to keep her voice steady despite the guards listening to every word. Gina's expression immediately shifted from tired to alert. After years of working together, the sisters had developed an ability to read each other's emotions instantly. "Minji, what's wrong? You look terrible." The guards behind her chuckled, expecting to hear a typical family conversation about homesickness or relationship problems. They had no idea they were witnessing something that would change everything. "I need help," Minji continued, choosing her words carefully. "They've arrested me illegally on Nova Prime. The local authorities are claiming I violated research protocols. But you know that's impossible." Gina leaned forward in her chair, her legal mind already processing the implications. "Who arrested you? What are the specific charges?" "Colonial security forces. They're claiming illegal alien research, but I have full federal authorization. Someone doesn't want my work to continue." She glanced meaningfully at the guards, who are now paying closer attention to the conversation. "Are you being treated properly? Are you injured?" Gina's voice carried a dangerous edge that the guards completely missed. "I'm fine physically. But they've destroyed 3 months of critical research, the breakthrough I told you about. They're trying to bury it completely." Hayes stepped closer to the terminal, his curiosity growing. "Time's almost up, prisoner. Wrap it up." Gina's eyes narrowed as she heard the guard's voice. "Who was that? Are they listening to this conversation?" "Yes, they're monitoring everything," Minji replied. "But Gina, I need you to understand. This isn't just about me. They're trying to stop research that could help millions of people across the colonies." The guards were now openly listening. But they still saw this as nothing more than a desperate woman calling her sister for emotional support. Hayes even yawned, clearly bored by what he considered a waste of time. "Don't worry about anything," Gina said, her voice taking on a tone that would have terrified anyone who understood its implications. "I'm going to handle this personally. You just stay safe and don't say anything else until help arrives." "Time's up," Hayes announced, reaching for the terminal's power switch. "Wait, one more second," Minji pleaded. "Gina, remember what Dad always told us about family. That family protects family. No matter what," Gina replied firmly. "And some families have more resources than others." He's cut the connection with a satisfied smirk. "There you go, prisoner. Your sister knows you're in trouble, but there's nothing she can do about it from Earth. Colonial law is colonial law." The other guards laughed as they escorted Minji back to her cell. "Did you see her face?" One of them joked. She actually thought her sister could help her. "Poor girl probably works in some office building pushing papers." Hayes added, "What's she going to do? File a complaint," as they locked Minji back in her cell. None of them noticed the subtle smile on her face. The gods had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. But they wouldn't realize it until federal ships started appearing in Nova Prime's orbit. The game had changed completely, and they had no idea what was coming. The first sign of trouble appeared as tiny dots against Nova Prime's purple sky. Colonial Governor Matthews was enjoying his morning coffee in his luxurious office when his aide burst through the door, face pale with panic. "Sir, we have massive hyperspace signatures incoming. Multiple federal vessels just dropped out of jump space." Matthews nearly choked on his drink. Through his floor-to-ceiling windows, he watched as sleek silver ships materialized in orbit like deadly angels. Their hulls gleamed against the alien sunset, and each vessel bore the unmistakable eagle, insignia of the Federal Colonial Oversight Division. "How many ships?" Matthews demanded, his hands shaking as he set down his cup. 12 heli cruisers, 6 assault carriers, and what looks like a command dreadnought," the aide stammered. "Sir, that's enough firepower to level half the colony. On the planet's surface, mining workers stopped their excavation machines to stare up at the sky. The alien creatures of Nova Prime scattered in all directions, sensing the tension in the air. Even the 6-winged birds that normally soared fearlessly between the crystal formations had taken shelter in the rocky caves dotted at the detention facility. Officer Hayes was bragging to his colleagues about the helpless researcher they had captured when alarms began blaring throughout the building. Red warning lights bathed the corridors in an ominous glow. Federal ships in orbit. Someone shouted over the intercom, "All security personnel to battle stations." Hayes felt his stomach drop. "Federal ships, that's impossible. We're in the outer rim. The feds never come out here. Meanwhile, aboard the command ship Justice's Hammer, Attorney General Gina Park stood on the bridge wearing her formal federal uniform. The ship's massive view screen displayed Nova Prime rotating slowly below them, its crystalline surface sparkling like a jewel. "Ma'am, we have the detention facility located," reported Captain Wong. "Our sensors show your sister is being held in cell block 7. Gina's jaw tightened. "Excellent. Marshal Rodriguez, are your teams ready?" Marshal Rodriguez, a veteran federal law enforcement officer, nodded grimly. 24 federal marshals, full tactical gear, and enough legal authority to arrest everyone from the governor down to the janitor if necessary. Then let's remind these colonial administrators who really runs human space. Gina declared. The federal assault began with precision military coordination. Dropships launched from the carriers like silver bullets, their engines screaming as they cut through Nova Prime's atmosphere. The ships were designed for rapid deployment, capable of carrying armed federal agents directly to their targets. Governor Matthews watched in growing horror as the first dropship landed on the colony. Main Administrative Plaza. Federal marshals, in powered armor suits, marched out in perfect formation, their weapons charged and ready. Citizens gathered to watch, many cheering as they recognized the federal uniforms. "Sir, they're demanding immediate access to all colonial records," Matthews' aide reported. "Monitoring the communication channels, they have warrants for multiple arrests, including..." "Including who?" Matthews snapped. "Including you, sir." The corporate executives who had orchestrated Menji's arrest were having an even worse day. In boardrooms across human space, emergency meetings convened as stock prices began crushing. News networks picked up the story within minutes of the federal ship's arrival. "This is Hannah Kim reporting from the Galactic Stock Exchange," announced a news anchor. "Zenith Mining Corporation has lost 40% of its value in just 2 hours following reports of federal intervention on Nova Prime. Sources confirm that the company may have illegally interfered with federal research operations." CO Takeshi Yamamoto watched his life's work crumble on the financial displays. "How did this happen?" he demanded of his legal team. "It was supposed to be a simple detention. Some nobody researcher causing problems." His chief lawyer, pale as death, handed him a data pad. "Sir, the researcher's sister is Attorney General Gina Park. We've essentially declared war on the federal government at the detention facility." Chaos erupted as federal forces surrounded the building. Advanced combat robots, sleek humanoid machines with glowing blue optical sensors, took position at every entrance, their plasma cannons hummed with deadly energy as they scanned for any signs of resistance. Hayes and his guards found themselves trapped inside their own facility. "This is impossible," Hayes muttered, watching through security cameras as federal marshals breached the main entrance. She was just calling her sister, just her sister. The marshals moved through the facility like a precision strike force. Their powered armor allowed them to move silently despite their size, and their advanced scanning equipment located every prisoner, every guard, every hidden weapon in the building. "Federal Marshal Service, everyone on the ground now." The amplified voice echoed through every corridor. Within minutes, they reached Menji's cell. The energy barrier dissolved as Marshal Rodriguez approached, his helmet retracting to reveal a stern but kind face. "Dr. Menji Park, I'm Marshal Rodriguez. Your sister sent us to bring you home." Menji stepped out of her cell, hardly believing what she was seeing. "How did you get here so fast?" "When the Attorney General of the United States calls in a favor, Mum." The entire federal fleet responds. "Your sister has been very busy in the past 6 hours." Outside, Governor Matthews was being led away in restraints as federal agents seized control of the colonial administration. The corrupt officials who thought they could silence a federal researcher had learned a harsh lesson about the reach of human justice. The corporate Executives responsible for the conspiracy watched their empires crumble as federal investigators began freezing assets and issuing arrest warrants across multiple star systems. Justice had come to Nova Prime, and it had arrived with overwhelming force. Dr. Kenzo Nakamura, the lead federal investigator, couldn't believe what he was seeing on his analysis screen. After securing Minji's destroyed lab, his team had spent days reconstructing her research data from backup files hidden in quantum storage devices. "This is incredible," he whispered, staring at the molecular structure rotating on his holographic display. "The compounds in these alien plants, they're like nothing we've ever encountered." The alien flora that Minji had been studying wasn't just unusual. It was miraculous. The purple, glowing plants contained natural chemicals that could repair human DNA damage, regenerate damaged organs, and potentially cure diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. Federal Agent Yuki Tanaka leaned over his shoulder, watching the data scroll past. "What exactly are we looking at here, Doc?" "Revolutionary medicine," Kenzo replied, his voice filled with awe. "These plants produce compounds that can heal spinal cord injuries, reverse certain types of blindness, and even slow down aging at the cellular level." Dr. Park wasn't just doing research. She was on the verge of changing human medicine forever. Meanwhile, in the corporate offices they had raided, investigators were uncovering the true scope of the conspiracy. Hidden files revealed that Zenith Mining Corporation hadn't just wanted to silence Minji's research, they had planned to steal it completely. Agent Hiroshi Soto held up a data crystal containing encrypted communications. "Look at this." The corporate executives knew exactly what she had discovered. They wanted to patent the compounds themselves and sell them exclusively to the highest bidders. The implications were staggering. Instead of sharing life-saving medicine with all of humanity, the corporation had planned to control access to it, potentially letting millions of people suffer and die while they maximize profits. Back on Earth, in the gleaming federal headquarters building, Attorney General Gina Park stood before a room packed with journalists from across human space. Representatives from every major colony world had gathered to hear about the Nova Prime incident. The room buzzed with anticipation as news drones hovered silently, broadcasting to billions of viewers across the galaxy. "Ladies and gentlemen," Gina began, her voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "What happened on Nova Prime wasn't just an attack on my sister. It was an attack on the future of our entire species." She activated a massive holographic display behind her, showing the molecular structure of the alien compounds Minji had discovered. The audience gasped as they saw the data. Complex organic molecules that seemed to dance with life-giving potential. These natural compounds, found in the flora of Nova Prime, represent the greatest medical breakthrough in human history, Gina continued. "They can heal injuries that we previously thought impossible to treat. They can cure genetic diseases that have tormented families for generations." A reporter from the Mars Broadcasting Network raised her hand. "Attorney General Park, what was the corporation planning to do with this research?" Gina's expression darkened. "Zenith Mining Corporation, along with several colonial officials, conspired to steal this research and monopolize it for profit. They were willing to let people die to protect their financial interests." The room erupted in angry murmurs throughout human space. Viewers watched in shock as the full scope of the conspiracy became clear. On colony worlds where people struggled with diseases and injuries that could have been cured, the revelation sparked outrage. On the remote mining station Alpha Centauri 7, injured workers who had been denied proper medical care watched the broadcast with tears in their eyes. "They had the cure all along," whispered miner Kenji Watanabe, who had lost his legs in a tunnel collapse 3 years earlier. The alien creatures of Nova Prime seemed to sense the historical importance of the moment. The six-winged birds that normally fled from human activity began gathering round the research stations, as if they understood that their world was about to become a beacon of hope for humanity. Federal scientists worked round the clock to analyze every aspect of Menji's research. Dr. Akira Yamamoto, the government's top xenobiologist, confirmed what everyone hoped to hear. The compounds are completely safe for human use, he announced during a live scientific briefing. Dr. Park's research shows they integrate naturally with human biology, with no toxic side effects. It's as if these plants evolved specifically to help our species. The revelation sent shockwaves through the medical community. Hospitals across human space began preparing for a revolution in treatment. Patients who had been told their conditions were incurable suddenly had hope. Corporate executives involved in the conspiracy watched their world collapse. Stock prices didn't just fall. Entire companies became worthless overnight as investors fled. The galactic marketplace rejected any business that put profit over human life. But the real impact was felt by ordinary people, veterans who had lost limbs in colonial conflicts, children born with genetic disorders, elderly citizens facing age-related diseases. All of them now had a chance at health they never thought possible. This case represents everything we stand for as a species, Gina declared in her closing statement. When we reach for the stars, we don't leave anyone behind. When we make discoveries, they belong to all of humanity, not just the wealthy few. The audience rose in thunderous applause as her words echoed across human space. This wasn't just about justice for one researcher. It was about affirming humanity's values among the stars. The conspiracy to silence Menji had backfired completely, transforming a corporate cover-up into humanity's greatest triumph over greed and corruption. 6 months after the Nova Prime incident, the federal courthouse on Earth's capital district buzzed with activity. Governor Matthews sat in the defendant's chair, his once proud uniform replaced with standard prison clothing. The man who had thought himself untouchable now faced a room full of federal judges and prosecutors. The defendant is found guilty on all charges, announced Chief Justice Chen, her voice echoing through the packed courtroom. Conspiracy against federal authority, violation of colonial rights, and obstruction of scientific research. The court sentences you to 25 years in federal prison. Matthew's face went pale as the gavel struck. Behind him, the other conspirators awaited their own judgments. Officer Hayes, who had arrested Menji with such arrogance, received 15 years. The corporate executives faced even harsher penalties. Their companies dismantled and their personal fortunes ceased to fund medical research. Meanwhile, on Nova Prime, something beautiful was happening. The planet had been transformed into humanity's most important medical research facility. Gleaming laboratories now stood where mining equipment once scarred the landscape. The alien creatures that had fled during the corporate occupation slowly returned, curious about the peaceful human scientists who treated their world with respect. Dr. Menji Park walked through her new state-of-the-art research center, watching as teams of the galaxy's best scientists worked with her revolutionary discoveries. Through the massive transparent walls, she could see the six-winged birds soaring freely between the crystal formations, no longer disturbed by destructive mining operations. The first batch of healing compounds is ready for distribution, announced Dr. Rina Suzuki, Menji's research partner. We can treat over 10,000 patients in the first wave. The results were nothing short of miraculous on the colony world New Beijing. A young girl named Hannah, who had been born blind, received her first treatment. When the bandages came off her eyes 3 days later, she saw her parents' faces for the first time in her 12 years of life. I can see the stars, she whispered. tears streaming down her face as she looked out at the night sky. They're so beautiful, similar. Scenes played out across human space. Veterans who had lost limbs in frontier conflicts watched in amazement as their bodies began regenerating damaged tissue. Elderly colonists found their strength returning as the alien compounds reversed years of cellular damage. The 6-month mark brought even more incredible developments on the research station orbiting Nova Prime. Scientists discovered that the healing compounds worked even better when combined with human medical technology. Robotic surgical assistants, guided by AI systems and enhanced with the alien medicine, could perform procedures that had been impossible just months earlier. Captain Wong, who had commanded the Federal fleet during the rescue operation, underwent treatment for injuries he had suffered years earlier in a spacecraft accident. The alien compounds, working alongside advanced nanobots, completely restored his damaged spine. "I never thought I'd walk normally again," he said. Taking his first steps without assistance in 5 years, Dr. Park didn't just save herself. She saved all of us. The transformation extended beyond medicine. The Nova Prime incident had sparked a galaxy-wide movement for transparency and justice. Colony worlds that had suffered under corrupt local governments began demanding federal oversight. Citizens who had been silenced by corporate interests found their voices again. On Earth, in the magnificent federal building where it all began, Attorney General Gina Park stood before the assembled representatives of every human colony. The great hall sparkled with holographic displays showing the faces of citizens from dozens of worlds, all connected in real time across the vast distances of space today. "I signed the Colonial Protection Act," Gina announced, holding an elegant digital signing device. "This legislation ensures that no human citizen will ever again be silenced by corruption, regardless of how far from birth they may be." The moment she activated the device, the new law went into effect across all of human space. Federal monitoring stations began operating on every colony world. Robotic enforcement units stood ready to investigate any reports of corruption, and direct communication links connected every citizen to Earth's justice system. The alien creatures of Nova Prime seemed to approve of the changes. The glowing plants that had started everything began spreading across the planet, as if they understood their role in transforming human civilization. Scientists theorized that the flora had evolved to form symbiotic relationships with intelligent species, rewarding those who approached them with respect and scientific curiosity. The Park sisters' story became legendary throughout human space. Children on frontier worlds learned about the researcher who refused to be silenced and the sister who moved heaven and earth to protect her. The tale inspired a new generation of scientists, lawyers, and federal agents who dedicated their lives to protecting human knowledge and justice. In the deepest reaches of space, where human explorers pushed the boundaries of known territory, the story gave them courage. They knew that no matter how far they traveled or what discoveries they made, humanity would protect them and their work. The conspiracy that was meant to bury revolutionary science had instead revealed humanity's greatest strength, the unbreakable bonds between citizens and their commitment to shared progress. Corporate greed had tried to steal the future, but family loyalty and federal justice had ensured that the future belonged to everyone. As the twin suns of Nova Prime set behind the crystal formations, painting the sky in brilliant purples and golds, the alien birds sang their evening songs. The planet that had witnessed humanity's darkest corruption had become the birthplace of its greatest triumph, the ND.